Welcome back, listeners and viewers. We're here with another episode of the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert. Today's guest is focused on redefining leadership and reimagining the characteristics we use to identify leaders. We're going to dig into all this and the journey of my friend, Mike Mitro. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, Aaron, thanks. Appreciate that.
How many people, like me when I first met you, screw up your last name?
Everybody.
Everybody. I needed to hear you say it just to make sure that I wasn't losing my mind. And you said it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. It's not Mike Metro, it's Mike Mitro. So I've like committed that to memory. I said it to myself like 50 times just to make sure I never hosed it up again a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever we met. And so, yeah, I love the fact that we got that out of the way years ago, so I didn't have to screw it up on the podcast.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your willingness to take the time to make that connection, because, most people, they just assume. And I'll just say this as a kind of like, I correct the people that I care about, that matter. Right. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Get them in on the little secret. So
yeah. Well, I never put my foot in my mouth and said it to you. I just said it to myself and maybe to other people. And then I heard you say it and I'm like, all right, committing it to memory, done. We're moving on. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, good, dude. Well, I'm super happy to have you on the show, and you're a fascinating individual, and I love having you part of our C9 team. We'll get into all that stuff later, but I want to just give the opportunity for our listeners and viewers to get to know you a little bit and hear your story. It's no secret that we do a little bit of a prep form here, so I can learn some new things. And I don't think I learned as much about you just in conversation and in our relationship as I do when you fill out a form where I force you to do it. So that's kind of cool. Like, there's some things that I learned about you in this, and so I'm like, one, I didn't know that you're from the East Coast. Like, you were born on the East Coast and were raised in kind of the Midwest. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing, like family dynamics and stuff like that of your younger years.
Well, let's see. Yeah, I was born in Fall River, Massachusetts. I'm actually adopted. So I was adopted when I was 3 months old. Both my parents were university administrators, and so they kind of went where the jobs were. And so we moved to Oberlin, Ohio when I was in first grade. They both worked at Oberlin College, which is kind of a small liberal arts college in north central Ohio. It's about a half hour, 40 minutes west of Cleveland. And so that's where I grew up. That's, I went to school there until I was a sophomore. And then we moved to Ithaca, New York for a year. I worked at Cornell. Then we moved to Mankato when I was a junior, which was a culture shock, I can tell you that. But growing up, we can talk about that later, but like growing up in Oberlin was very formidable in who I am today. It was, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Oberlin College or Oberlin as a whole, but it was a stop on the Underground Railroad. It was the first institution to admit Black Americans prior to emancipation. So I think 1836 or something like that. I'd have to go back and look. So the university was really kind of ahead of its time. Growing up in that town, activism was just part of the culture. So watching this college students I'm going to date myself here, but watching college students protest against apartheid, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu came and spoke at one of the commencement ceremonies. I think I was in junior high at the time. And so having that kind of unique experience growing up it's a small town. It's probably not much bigger than River Falls, where I live now. Maybe it's a little smaller, but it's also really diverse. And so and you don't realize the influence of those experiences until you're an adult and you're all of a sudden confronted with circumstances where you need to make, I would argue, like moral decisions. And you're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm drawing on to help guide me in my decision making. And I'll just give you one little example of how I know that I'm not the only one. So a lot of Oberlin kids, not a lot, but quite a few, came out to go to Carleton because they wanted the Oberlin experience, but they didn't want to stay in Ohio. So I know at least 3 or 4 folks who came and went to Carleton College, who then stayed out here. And I've interacted with them occasionally. And they are like-minded in their quest for equity and social justice and some of these other things. And so, and also pointed to their upbringing in Oberlin as an influence in their, in the direction that they've gone. So it's really kind of fascinating to look back at that.
Yeah. So
as an adult.
in that area, in that Oberlin College area, like, does the college pretty much just drive everything in that whole town? I mean, if it's the size of River Falls, I look at, if we're going to talk about just from an education standpoint and the impact that a university has on a small town, like, look at, just from my proximity, River Falls is consumed by UW River Falls. Now you take that and you apply that same principle to Oberlin, but then you have another layer of just the massive amount of history that's there, and then just, the tones that are happening from a society standpoint. Like, that's got to be no kidding, you're dealing with culture shock going from freaking Oberlin to Mankato. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, that is nuts.
Wow. Yeah, it was. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it is like high school graduation is at the chapel. At least it was when I was in school there. That's when my sister graduated. So the public library at the time was a Carnegie library. I don't know if you're familiar with the endowment for those libraries, but there's a very unique architectural style that is associated with those libraries. Absolutely fantastic place to grow up and to be integrated. Yeah, like there is really a separation between the institution and the community as a whole. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of a delineation between those two things, but like the Tappan Square, which is right in the middle of town, is that's part of the campus, but that's also like where a lot of the community events happen. It's this giant public park in the middle of town. And yeah, the historical significance of that community and being a haven on the Underground Railroad. If you've got time to look up the Wellington Raid, you should do that. So, it is and still is a really fascinating place. So
in your younger years, when did the aha happen that you were living in an area with so much history, and that maybe had a little bit of created a little bit of a weight on your shoulders of like, wow, this is really intense. Like where I live and the amount of history that has gone through this town. When do you think that hit you, like, from an aha standpoint?
I think the most impactful realization of the impact of that was summer of 2020, honestly. Up to that point, it hadn't really dawned on me why I felt the way I did about certain things. But given the laser focus on equity issues and social justice and some of these other areas that have always been there, but not at the forefront or had a spotlight shined on them in the same way. And then also, seeing how other people reacted. And so, for instance, one of the people that I went to school with, a couple years younger than me, but lives in Minneapolis now and owns he owns a software company. He basically shut his company down and sent everyone home for, I don't know how long it was now. I want to say a month or so, and just said, participate in your community, like take care of your community. And if you went to their website, it was just a big black box or a big black screen with a white box and black like block letters in the middle that just said take action, right? And so I was like, he's from Oberlin. This is how it's manifesting itself for him, right? And so it was kind of confirmation of what I was feeling as a child of the 80s in Oberlin. Was like, yeah, this is our responsibility now. We've been given this task, and we've been preparing for it somewhat unconsciously our whole lives. We've just been in it, and now to have the contrast of what's happening nationally kind of be the spark to kind of reignite that sense of responsibility and also seeking out collaborative relationships to make change. So
let's take a little bit of a left turn here, and let's go into kind of your youth. So you grew up, your parents were administrators. You had siblings. Are all your siblings adopted, or are you like? How does the dynamics of all that work?
So my sister is my parents' only biological child. Then my brothers and I were all adopted. So yep. So my older brother was adopted. I was 3 months old, and then Greg, and then my two younger brothers. So
were you always into sports? Like I know you and I have talked in the past, and athletics has just been a big part of who you are and kind of in the fabric and in your DNA. Was sports a big part of your family, or was that just something that you decided to go down, or how did that play a role in your upbringing?
My parents were always supportive of it, but that was really kind of like, I'm really the only one of my siblings who participated consistently. I guess my brother played soccer. But yeah, no, it's one of my love languages. There's 6 love languages. I didn't know if you knew that or not, but yeah, one of them.
I didn't.
And sports is one of them. Yeah. So, and still compete, just talking to somebody today about the Badger State games that are coming up in June. So I love to compete. It's where I feel, that's one of the places, and, you're drawn to the places, I think, where you feel like you have control and confidence, and you know what the expectations are. That's a comfortable place to be for most of us, and that's for me sport. Like sport is one of those places for me.
So in high school, then, what was your go-to? What was your maybe it still is, but what was your favorite sport to play?
Track was by far my favorite, but I played football, basketball, and I ran track, and so it was interesting. I hadn't been into a organized youth sporting event like in a gym until my oldest started playing basketball in 7th grade. And my wife and I had this conversation where like all of the things come flooding back to you. And it's like, I had to like sit on my hands and keep myself in the stands so that I didn't run down there and get your hands up, move your feet, right? Like I don't want to be that guy, but yeah,
you're a coach at heart, but you don't want it to show to the general public being that dad.
Yeah. And that stuff just comes back to you, So
did you play any sports in college?
I did not. No.
And where'd you decide to go where'd you go to your undergrad then?
So I started at Mankato and I quit to go to work at Ameriprise. I took a job in Minneapolis. So I worked there, but I started at Mankato because both my parents worked there. But the draw for something else was pretty strong. So I moved up to Minneapolis, worked till that department was outsourced. And I could have either moved to Salt Lake City or I decided to go back to school and finish my undergrad at Winona. So
Winona State?
Yep.
Yeah. You're going from one, very different. Winona State and Mankato, I feel like, are a little bit of a carbon copy of each other. So probably you weren't really, obviously, I think from a landscape standpoint, it's very different, right? But other than that, I feel like that probably wasn't a big culture shock at all for you going from Mankato to Winona.
No. And part of it was proximity to my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, Heidi. So she was in La Crosse. So I moved to La Crosse, but commuted to Winona to finish up. So,
all right. So let's take a quick break here. We're gonna listen to a few of our community supporters. We're gonna dive back in. I want to get into the career trajectory and stuff, and then I think we have a few other things to dive into based on our earlier conversations. So let's take a quick break here and listen to a few of our community supporters. We'll be back with Mike. When you think of a typical CPA firm, you probably think of tax planning. Well, that just scratches the surface of what Boulay offers their clients. By providing smart, in-depth thinking from experts in accounting, audit, tax, and business consulting, they know what it takes to achieve financial success. Whether it's protecting your business, building your wealth, or securing your future, you can count on Boulay to go beyond addressing just financial matters and providing you with tailor-made, workable solutions. Learn about all they have to offer at bouleygroup.com. Boulay, helping you get there.
Tell me if this sounds familiar. Your business is having challenges with adding revenue, or you're ready for quicker growth and scale. Your sales team lacks a coach or mentor to help guide and excel their production, and you're not quite sure who the best resource is for sourcing and replacing sales professionals on your team. When you're looking for a company that provides sales solutions that drive growth, look up Sales Homie. Sales Homie is the premier fractional CRO or VP sales agency, additionally offering sales recruiting and placement services, sales leadership coaching, and sales team training programs. Don't put your business at risk with low revenues and uninspired sales professionals. Learn more about Sales Homie by visiting their website at saleshomie.com. Sales Homie, sales solutions that drive growth.
Every year brings new challenges for Minnesota business leaders, and USI Insurance is here to take the pressure off of the employee benefits decision. Having a local presence with national resources, USI combines a client-centric culture with leading-edge technical resources so you can make an informed decision on your benefits investment. The USI team has been deeply committed to investing into our local communities and utilizes their expertise to provide solutions you can count on to protect your greatest asset, your employees. USI has been partnering with Twin Cities businesses for decades, and they would welcome the opportunity to do the same for you. Visit USI.com to learn how USI's approach to risk management and employee benefits delivers customized, actionable solutions with bottom-line impact. Regardless if you're a startup just figuring things out or a medium-sized organization with a full team, having a legal partner by your side is crucial. Seiler Law is fiercely loyal to their clients and are passionate about removing headaches and roadblocks that can pop up during the growth of your business. Whether you need general outside counsel, are planning a business transaction, or even need someone to guide you through the estate planning process, the team at Seiler Law are the advocates for you. Visit SeilerLaw.com to learn more. Seiler Law, where experience meets pragmatism.
Verseek Search and Consulting is thrilled to support Coalition 9 for an exciting year ahead. Verseek is a Minnesota-based, high-performance recruiting firm that specializes in interim solutions, direct hire, and executive leadership search. Our team of experienced professionals and seasoned leaders across various areas of expertise and industries have been in your shoes. Your company's success hinges on the capacity of your people, and few areas of your business are more critical than your finance and accounting team. You need talent who can move the needle while winning the trust of leaders and stakeholders in your organization. Your people make it possible. Verseek can help connect you with the talented candidates within finance and accounting for consulting or direct hire needs, as well as within other industry areas in executive search, direct hire, and interim solutions. People are the ultimate business advantage. Find your people together with Verseek and make the best possible for your business. Learn more by visiting Verseek.com and by following Verseek on LinkedIn.
United Healthcare is dedicated to helping people live healthier lives and making the health system work better for everyone by simplifying the healthcare experience, meeting consumer health and wellness needs, and sustaining trusted relationships with care providers. UHC is continually focused on building a modern, high-performing health system via improved access, affordability, outcomes, and experiences. With a network of over 1.6 million physicians and healthcare professionals in over 6,000 hospitals, United Healthcare is dedicated to connecting employers and their employees to better health by offering quality benefits designed for affordability. For more information, visit United Healthcare at www.uhc.com. United Healthcare, helping people live healthier lives. All right, we're back here with Mike Mitro. Mike, I'm one question I have is I always like to dive into the nature versus nurture aspect of things. And, you know, I especially find that fascinating with, and I've had multiple people on this podcast that have been adopted. So you think about like the nature part of things, you know, the family that you were born to, and then the family that you were raised by are two probably polarizingly different environments. How much of the influence of your family has had on you in your trajectory, and how much do you think, I know, and I don't want to go into the depths of that too much, but how much do you think is driven by nature?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I hadn't really thought about it in terms of the impact of one versus the other. But I feel like the nurture part that I picked up from, you know, my family that I was adopted into was kind of this love of scholastic, and like I'm a huge history buff. I love to read. Really kind of drawn to things that require looking at things through an academic and research lens, I guess. If you're familiar with the Kolbe, I'm a fact finder. You can see my numbers in my name here. But so that and my dad and I have a lot of similar interests from a historical perspective. But I think the other piece this, again, growing up in Oberlin kind of highlighted some of these drives for equity and then so I did my DNA test in 2018, kind of reconnected with my birth family, which is a whole nother podcast series of its own.
Yeah, that's
but
yeah.
the thing that became abundantly clear is that this work is also in my DNA, as I've connected with folks on both sides of the family, from my birth family. This is work like equity work or work in academia. Those are all things that those folks do as well, and it makes a lot of sense. So I believe that despite not having that as those relationships growing up, that's where the nature part comes in. I think it's embedded in your DNA, if that's kind of the trajectory that those folks, or the path that those folks went down, but also the nurture part from my adopted family of curiosity, right? Like we've talked about this, like I'm just by nature a curious person. And I think that lends itself to the whole research and trying to kind of ask more questions than giving answers. Does that make sense? So my answer is it's a both and, I think.
I think most people will answer it that way, but yet I still think it's fascinating, when you've got such a very different birth family, flat out different birth family than the family that is your family now, as you raised you. And I think now it's a little bit of, hopefully you've got the best of both worlds, and it's helping shape who you are. And I think the nurture thing goes deeper than just your family and being a young person. It goes into the relationship you have with your partner and your children and the people you choose to surround yourself with and the work that you do. I think that's all nurture related things. And I think, as I've gotten to know you, and I know kind of where you, after you were out of school, and then where the trajectory took you, you were working for people. And I think you got a little bit of that in me, to where I'm not the best. I'm probably terminally unemployable. Like I'm not the best person to I
got to write that down.
Yeah.
Hold on.
That's a good one. But it's the truth, right? And I think, you probably have had in your career journey a little bit of that realization that you're just a better coach and you're a better development focused individual to help people get to where they want to go because of your life experience, because of your career experience, which has gotten you to all the things that you've done on the fitness side of things, and then now have applied all those same principles to coaching. What would be now, with all that being said, like, what was your first, after you get done with Winona and you're done with college and stuff like that, what was your first real job?
My first real job, was that prior to Winona, was that HR job at Ameriprise Financial. So I was a benefits administrator, sitting in a cubicle in the Ameriprise headquarters. It was still American Express Financial at that time. So sitting in their headquarters in Minneapolis, downtown, helping folks get connected with their benefits. Was it interesting? I don't know if satisfying is the word I would use to describe it. It was a paycheck, and the people were fun. The people were so. Yeah, that's good. But that was also kind of my first realization that I'm like, if I continue down this path, I don't have as much control over the trajectory if I leave it up to somebody else. And then finding out that my job was going to be eliminated and all of that, like that was my first kind of experience. It was my first real job, but it was also my first experience with like am I just a cog in the assembly here? So
when did you realize that you needed to be, that it was innate in you, like it was burning inside of you, that you needed to do something that you were passionate about, not just be a W-2 employee moving paper around, not just a role player. You needed to do something that was really going to drive you and really got you excited.
Yeah, well, that was in 2010 when I got laid off from what I thought was my dream job, right? Working at a consulting company that focused on DEI work and leadership development. I was their business development manager, but I got laid off. I was last in, first out kind of a thing. And we had just had our second child in February. So by November, when I got laid off, we were looking at, okay, I need to get a job, and then we need to find daycare, apparently. And so I came to the we came, I think, together, my wife and I, to the realization that me getting a job, my entire paycheck was just going to go to somebody else to take care of our kids. And so that didn't compute for either one of us. And it made more sense for me to be with them and figure it out once they got into school, and so once they started preschool, that's when I was like, okay, what I can go, I have some time now. I can figure out what I want to do. What do I like to do? What am I passionate about? And how can I make money doing it? And so that's when I decided to become a personal trainer and a fitness coach and a nutrition coach. So, and that has kind of, that decision kind of steered or dictated the rest of the path, which was change management, developmental opportunities, growth edge opportunities, take your pick. But all of those things kind of emanated from the decision to become a trainer and figuring out how to help folks identify for themselves what their why was, so that they can make intentional efforts to achieve their goals. And that we always talk about self-reflection, and that is the development opportunity for any kind of meaningful, sustainable change, is to recognize what it is that is going to help you make the decision to take action, because no one else can do it for you. You have to, and as a trainer, you want to do it, but you can't do it for somebody else. They have to arrive at that place on their own. And the catalyst is different for everybody.
Anybody who listens or watches this and is kind of consuming all that, I think they all just look at, and I know I have in the past, of like a personal trainer as being someone that is, an accountability partner, but it's really focused on the physical aspect of things. But at the end of the day, if you really break it down, it's actually the psychological side of things. And it's, you're working, the accountability comes through the mind, and the psychological side is understanding the why that this person wants to get up every day and come and see you and put their, put the emphasis on their body. Now, I gotta believe that the work that you did on the physical wellness side was very translatable to then the work that you're doing on the leadership development side of things in partnership with your wife. And I just got to believe that those principles are just so crazy similar. I mean, I'm talking like, I got to believe there's like 90% of it is the same thing. And then the 10% is just function.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that was abundantly clear right out of the gate, I think, for me, as we transitioned from personal training and nutrition coaching into like development coaching, and like those principles are directly transferable to any type of psychological development. The people who have the most impactful and meaningful and sustainable change, whether it's physical or mental or professional, are the ones that recognize their role in that process and are not looking to external people or processes to kind of hang their hat on for the change to take place. Like, they have to be the catalyst for that. And it's a straight line for sure. So.
Yeah. So then, do you still do any wellness training at all on the side or anything like that? No, you've fully parked all that stuff and are all in on what you guys are doing now.
Yep, absolutely. And it is part of, like, for myself, it's part of the, the process where I recognize I'm way better when I've incorporated, movement or exercise into my daily routine. There's just no accounting for the elevated, hormones and endorphins for the creative process, and inspiration. I mean, scientifically and physiologically speaking, that is part of the process. And while it's not, not something that we directly advocate for as part of our training, or like we're going to incorporate X, it is absolutely part of the process. I mean, my wife and I, when we walk and we're looking in the same direction and we're having a conversation, more often than not, that's when the the best stuff, the magic happens, is when we're moving and thinking at the same time.
So let's dive into then what you're doing now and the business that you share with your wife and the work that you do. So I'm always kind of shitty at this. Like I need to do a better job of saying, what is the name of your business, right? We're going to have it plastered all over this stuff. But when I welcome you into the show, this is more focused on you. Now we're at a point where I feel like, we're fully intertwined with your life and the business congruence of where you're at in this journey. So name of your business, and then kind of a little bit of an overview on the work that you guys do and the emphasis that you're putting on the business ecosystem.
Yep. So when you lead coaching and consulting, our tag is kind of like redefining or reimagining leadership from the inside out. And that meaning that it kind of starts with you, right? It starts with you and your relationship with yourself, and then recognizing that we're all leaders in some way, shape, or form, whether that's within the four walls of the job or in our community. And then so redefining what that looks like. And that starts with how do you recognize what your leadership style is, and then how do you apply that in the places where you feel like you want or need to do that. And also recognizing that, the impact of that recognition and like clarity of your leadership is never confined to the four walls of the organization, but you take that with you when you leave the building, and you can demonstrate that within your community, within your family. And that's what we call, the ripple effect that we're after, where it's like, we need people to step up and recognize where they're a leader and where they have influence and where they can, work to create change and help others around them identify that for themselves by modeling that and, helping nurture or mentor or whatever that looks like.
So I hear you say that. And then I also think about your background, your history, your time at Oberlin, and then you translate all that forward. I think DEI is going to obviously have a huge impact in some of the work that you're probably doing because of the way you're wired and what's been built into you. How much of the work that you do moving forward is going to have a little bit of an emphasis on DEI related things? Because I do think, like, obviously there's a huge gap here of people that have the desire to coach and the desire to teach, but then also to be able to speak educatedly about it and feel that passionate about it. And then there's a bunch of small businesses and not only just small businesses, just this leaders within our community that need to make this a part of their efforts moving forward. So what part of that is going to play a role in your future here?
Well, it's a huge part of that. Like the work that we do is almost exclusively through an equity lens, for sure, whether it's through our Kolbe work or our IDI work, so the intercultural development inventory. Those are two tools that we use to help folks recognize where their opportunities lie and then also like where their strengths lie, to kind of help reinforce those opportunities or help support their journey on towards achieving their goals. So I would say it's 100% of what we're doing. Part of it is, helping leadership recognize where the opportunities to create more cultures of inclusivity and compassion in their leadership style that will help empower the people around them to want to continue to show up and continue to be productive. And so, yeah, I would say, I guess probably 100% of that. Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought you would say, but I thought I'd tee you up, but I didn't want it to come out of my mouth. I want to come out of yours. So I have a pretty good understanding. We have a pretty good understanding of what you do. Where do you want to see you and Heidi go with this thing? Like, what's the plan moving forward, and what does the short term to midterm future look like?
Well, it's funny that you asked about the plan, because that is one of our processes, is our plan process for inclusive leadership and for equity work. It's a framework called the plan, and that kind of works through the process of developing the skills to be able to be a more inclusive leader. And by doing that, you're modeling the behaviors and the attributes to the folks around you that show what first, kind of what the expectations are from like a organizational culture, but also gives folks an opportunity to, some of this stuff is really personal and can be emotional. And how do you manage that? And in order to do that, you need to have a plan, right? That physiological response, having a common language and common understanding of terms and definitions so that you're speaking the same language, but it's also inclusive. And then not just having those two things, but then taking action, which is the A in the plan. So it's PLA, helping folks identify and come up with their framework and their action steps, and then taking action now, right? Like not waiting for the right time or waiting until you feel like you're adequately educated, but like taking steps with the information that you have, whether it's baby steps or giant leaps, to move the plan forward. That then, once you've gone through that process, that model, and are able to model those things to the individual contributors or to managers or whomever, sets the expectation and the tone for how things move and initiatives move forward within an organization. And so just providing opportunities for people to, expand their definition of leadership, expand their experience. We talk about leadership, and historically there's been, a couple of singular attributes that we have associate with leadership culturally, Western culture. And, sometimes it's maybe the loudest person in the room, or the person who's the most charismatic, while they might not be the most ethical, but they're the most charismatic. So they're the ones that get the attention and have that leadership moniker attached to them. And this provides, again, an opportunity for people who might not identify with those, narrowly tailored qualifications or attributes, but have a passion and a vision about how they want to lead.
I
think I answered your question.
Yeah, I think so. A couple of weeks, well, and even just to kind of put a little bit of a cherry on top of that, a couple of weeks ago, I wrapped up reading Hidden Potential, Adam Grant's recent book, and there's a whole chapter on that around how society, and to use your words, Western culture specifically, but society in general, just they kind of find the extroverts, the loudest person in the room, the most charismatic, all those things that are elevated within organizations. And really, at the end of the day, some of the greatest leaders have, it's very well known around the CEO of Kimberly-Clark, which is one of the largest paper product manufacturers in the world, was a hardcore introvert. Like it pained him to get up in front of people, but yet he knew his people. The culture that they built was epic. And so so I'm correlating all that because the work that you're doing directly results to trying to quell some of those misconceptions of what makes a good leader, and make sure that that people that are elevating people within the organization are going through it with a wide open lens, and there's no preconceived notions there just because of some of those character type of traits.
Yeah, and I think it really is about connection. And at the end of the day, it's about how do you connect and inspire and empower those around you, and communication, right? Like being able to communicate the vision and have a clear understanding of what the goal is, along with being able to inspire folks around you to get behind that and then move forward and take action. And that sometimes that's not about being the loudest person, but having a connection of some sort, or an authentic relationship of some sort. Yeah. And so that's a different type of attribute that is required.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break here. Let's listen to a few more of our community supporters. We're going to come back with 9 questions with Mike. I know he's going to be very excited about this because I can just tell by his personality he likes surprises. So let's take a quick break.
Can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait. We'll be right back.
Kaisa Wealth Management treats each client like a member of the family. Acting as your personal CFO, we are fiercely devoted to your financial prosperity. At Kaisa, our wealth strategies are aligned with your core values, creating a wealth plan centered around the legacies you wish to create. This is our Kaisa commitment. Our wealth strategies are dynamic and tailor-made for your long-term goals because as a family investment firm, excellence in service is not just a promise, it's our baseline. Whether it's selling a business, planning succession, creating a legacy, navigating life's changes like death and divorce, supporting executives on the move, planning for your retirement, or just preserving your family wealth, we are here for you. Find out how we can help to simplify your wealth at kaisawealth.com.
Mason Jar Marketing helps businesses bridge the gap between marketing and sales so they can crush goals. They're a collaborative partner, one who translates strategic priorities into actionable, goal-aligned tactics. You can count on them to deliver creative expertise and flawless execution for all marketing channels, no hand-holding required. If you're ready for a partner who listens well, thinks big, acts fast, and drives results, schedule a complimentary marketing needs assessment at masonjarmarketing.com. Security Bank and Trust has been a community supporter and the banking partner of Coalition9 since our inception. One of my favorite things about partnering with Security Bank and Trust is that I have a significant relationship at multiple levels within the bank. From grabbing lunch and building a personal friendship with the president, Andy, to welcoming multiple employees as C9 members, to seeing Addie's smiling face when I swing by the Eden Prairie branch, they get relationships and the banking needs of a business like ours. Check them out at security-banks.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Security Bank and Trust, growing together. As a boutique Twin Cities-based investment banking firm, Madeira Partners works closely with family, founder, and management-owned businesses, bringing over 25 years of experience and hundreds of successful transactions to the table. It's in their DNA to educate owners on what potential exit opportunities look like, along with any industry or company-specific things to think about to make your business more attractive to potential buyers. Regardless if you want to sell tomorrow or in 10 years, the team at Madeira Partners would love to provide their expertise and guidance along the way. Take some time to explore their website at madeirapartners.com. Madeira Partners, your life's work deserves our best work. The topic of talent is hot in organizations of any size, and I would argue none more than small to mid-sized businesses. That's why it's crucial to have a partner to help you navigate all the HR idiosyncrasies so you can focus on working on your business and not in it. Insperity is a full-service HR partner with a high-touch, high-tech platform helping owners work through challenges like employee retention, company culture, and benefits, just to name a few. Do yourself a favor and explore all they have to offer at insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference. In addition to our amazing prospering and thriving level supporters, we want to shine a spotlight on our equally amazing evolving level supporters. Alliant Insurance Services, Bauer Design Build, Beyond Design Resource Group, Entrabank, Fluid Interiors, and Modern Foundation. All of the Coalition9 community supporters can be found at coalition9.com/community-supporters. All right, we're back here with Mike. Dude, I'm excited to do this because you are a fact finder. Like, let's just talk about our two opposite Kolbes, right? Like, you are a hardcore fact finder. I'm a hardcore quick start. So me throwing 9 random questions at you could be quite easily the bane of your existence, but we're going to get through it. And you're going to be just fine.
Let me get my tablet so I can look some stuff up here.
Yeah. All right. Let's put a time frame on this. All right. So this is quick fire style. Can you confirm to me that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you?
Absolutely. My sweaty palms tell me that that's true. So.
Good. All right. They're not so bad. They're not bad. All right. First one, easy one. What is the first album that you ever owned? CD, tape, record, whatever.
Oh man. The first one that I can really remember, I think, was Thriller. I had an LP, like the LP.
Yeah.
I'd gotten a stereo for my birthday that had a turntable, a cassette deck, and an 8-track player, and then an FM radio, but it had bookshelf speakers. I was living large, man. So
yeah. That was my first album that I ever owned. I got it from my mom.
Awesome.
She got me Michael Jackson Thriller. So it was an album. It was an LP. So yeah, great. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. We're 1 for 1. What are 3 words that describe you?
Curious, compassionate, collaborative. Boom.
Boom. Well done. You had those locked and loaded.
Oh yeah.
What is the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
My sister was a foreign exchange student in Australia for a year. I think her junior year in high school, maybe her sophomore year. I can't remember. But she brought back chocolate covered caterpillars.
Oof.
And I ate one of those, just one, like half one, I think.
Yeah.
So
was it good?
Yeah, not for me.
No,
yeah. Not good.
Yeah, no, doesn't sound good. I think I kind of know where we're going with this. So let's try and all right. So I'm going to preface this with not related to your work that you're doing in any way. So if you could give a TED talk on anything except something related to your career or the work that you do on a daily basis, what would it be?
The life of stars, the life cycle of stars.
Like stars in the sky, stars.
Astronomy.
Astrology, cosmology.
Yep, astronomy. Cool. Astronomy, definitely.
Astronomy.
So, yeah.
Cool.
You said astrology, and I just wanted to correct you because those are two different things.
Okay, all right, good. Yeah. Astrology, not astronomy.
Astronomy.
Astrology.
No,
astronomy, not astrology. What's the difference?
I don't know. Astrology, isn't that like telling your future or your
is that
based
like
on your birth signs and your birth date and all that stuff? I don't know anything about that. So
yeah, okay. Very different. Glad we're on the same page there. Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
So
I didn't know that about you.
I'm not a fortune teller or anything.
No. But you're like you dig stars and all of everything that goes on in the greater universe.
Yep, the search for Planet 9, looking for that.
Yeah.
Since Pluto's no longer, but yeah.
All right, sweet, good. All right. Let's see. I learn something new every day. What is one quality in a person that impresses you?
Their ability to have empathy for others. That's something that you can pick up on pretty quickly and pretty easily. And I think that's the most human thing you can do is so, yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Great answer. Love that. If I were to ask your best friend what you're most known for, what would that person say?
Probably being a connector, like just finding like-minded people and making connections or running. People always see me run, I guess. So
two very different things. Maybe they do correlate. Maybe you're running and making connections, and just like if you do those two at one time, then you definitely are a specimen.
It's off the charts. Being able to hold a conversation with someone while you're running, it's a sign of some cardiovascular health right there.
That's a good gift. Yeah. All right. Would you rather be able to breathe underwater or fly?
Fly. For sure.
I had a feeling you're going that way after I asked the question about and you responded with stars. So I had a feeling that you'd rather be closer that way than you would to be go underwater.
Yeah. I'm not a huge underwater guy. Like I don't know. Even like swimming in video games makes me anxious.
Yeah, me too.
So
yeah, I have a fear of deep water. I also have a fear of heights.
If I can't,
I think I'd opt out of both.
If I can't see, and you can see everything from height, right? Like, so.
Yeah. What do you enjoy spending money on?
Shoes.
Shoes. That's right.
Oh yeah.
You had a nice, were those Jordans that you had the last time I saw you? You had like a nice pair of Jordans on the last time. And I think
a few pairs of those. So.
Somebody else had it. Like, was it Gario that had this? I think Gario had the same shoes on as you, and I thought that was pretty sweet.
They weren't exactly the same. They were a different colorway, but same style, Jordan ones.
Yeah. So yeah, sweet. All right, last one. If you could have dinner with two people, one alive and one dead, who would they be?
Alive, I think it would be curious to have dinner with Barack Obama and ask what his experience was like. I think that would be fascinating. Dead, no longer among us. Toussaint from Haiti, he led the Haitian slave revolt in the 1700s, right? I think it would be fascinating to talk with him.
The three of you sitting down, and can you imagine just being a fly on the wall between him and Barack Obama?
Right. I mean, seriously,
you don't even need to say anything. You just sit there.
Right. Right. Yeah. Just be the fly. Yeah. Be the observer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Good answers, dude. I gotta tell you, it was I'll never forget the day I met you, and we were at some lunch thing, and we shook hands, and there was just something about your style, and maybe it is kind of that EQ side of thing that I love to kind of pick up on certain people, and you know, we got a little bit of a flavor of that today, and I'm pumped that you're just a part of our C9 community, that you play such a significant role by being a facilitator, and as part of your journey as well, and the good work that you do on a daily basis is lead a group of 9 with us. So I'm just thrilled that we're friends, and that you play a role in this, and I want more people to get to know you and learn more about you. So how can people find you, and how can people get a hold of you?
So my email is mike@whenyoulead.com.
Mm-hmm.
So just mike@whenyoulead.com, and then our website is whenyoulead.com. And then or find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, is that your social platform of choice? Is LinkedIn? No other socials? Yeah, good.
Yeah, I love it. So
good, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Thanks for sharing a little bit about your journey. We probably could peel off a couple more podcasts with some of the things that we talked about, but it was a great little overview on who you are, and give a little bit of a glimpse into your personality and your journey. So I hope more people reach out to you, and I'm thrilled to have you on the show.
Well, I really appreciate it, Aaron. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share, and I enjoy our conversations. And I think, there's always something to learn, and there's always something to gain from an interaction. If you can walk away saying I hadn't considered that, then it was a success, right?
Yeah, good.
At least
good.
once. So.
Yep. Amen, brother. All right. On behalf of Mike, this has been the Power of 9 podcast. I am your host, Aaron Eggert, and I want to thank you for the privilege of your time.